Handsome billionaire falls in love with a poor crippled beggar. He took her home. Then this happened. The California sun was harsh that Saturday afternoon, beating down on the glossy hood of Chase Montgomery's black Bentley as it idled outside a Whole Foods in downtown Los Angeles. Chase, a 33-year-old billionaire tech investor with movie star looks and a habit of dodging headlines, stepped out of the store in a plain black t-shirt and jeans, his face hidden behind dark sunglasses. He had just flown back from New York on red-eye meetings with his legal team over a merger deal. His driver waited nearby, the AC on full blast. But something made Chase pause. It wasn't the heat. It wasn't even the smell of the food trucks lining the sidewalk across the street. No, it was a voice. "Excuse me, sir, can you spare a little change for food?" He turned. The voice came from a young woman sitting on a flattened cardboard box, tucked between a trash can and a parking meter. She wore an oversized hoodie several sizes too big, her jeans torn, not for fashion. Her right leg was twisted, bent awkwardly beneath her, with a steel brace poking out beneath the fabric. But her face. Even under layers of city grime, her face stunned him. She had soft brown skin, tired green eyes, and a quiet strength etched into her expression, like someone who had seen more than her years should allow. Her long curls were matted but fell gracefully over her shoulders. Chase blinked, caught off guard. I don't have cash," he stammered. "But hang on. There's an ATM inside. Wait here." She gave a small nod. "Thank you." He turned and rushed back into the store, ignoring the odd looks from bystanders. At the machine, he punched in his code, hands shaking. He withdrew $500. Too much. He didn't care. Something about her hit deep. Real deep. When he stepped outside again, money in hand, the cardboard box was empty. His heart dropped. Wait, where did she go? He turned left, then right. Scanned the food truck crowd. Searched the alley. Nothing. She was gone. The driver opened the car door, but Chase stood frozen. "Sir?" the driver asked. Chase didn't reply. He clenched the bills in his fist. She said she'd wait. He slipped into the back seat and stared out the window all the way to his home in Beverly Hills, silent, distracted, haunted by the eyes of a girl he didn't even know. The next morning, Chase sat in the study of his Beverly Hills mansion, a $20 million fortress of stone, glass, and lonely silence. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, but his mind was elsewhere. He should have been reviewing the final design layouts for his tech campus project in Inglewood, a sprawling, multi-million-dollar build promising jobs and innovation. Instead, his eyes were locked on nothing. Just the ghost of her voice ringing in his head. "Excuse me, sir." Chase rubbed his temples and picked up his phone. At the top of his recent calls was Marco, site manager. He tapped. "Morning, Mr. Montgomery," Marco answered. "We're already running concrete for the West Wing." "You're on site now?" Chase asked. "Of course, sir." "You notice anything unusual?" Marco paused. Yeah, actually. That's why I was just about to call you." Chase's pulse jumped. "Go on." "One of the security guys found someone sleeping inside Unit D, said it looked like a girl, young, maybe 20-something. Real skinny. Kinda sickly." Chase sat up. "Did she say her name?" "No, sir. Didn't talk much. Just said she had nowhere to go. She wasn't hurting anything, just sleeping on a pile of insulation boards like it was a bed." Chase's voice went quiet. "What was she wearing?" "I think, a dark hoodie, some beat-up jeans. Oh, and a leg brace. Kinda limped when she stood up." Chase was already on his feet, grabbing his keys. "Marco. Don't touch her. Don't scare her. I'm coming now." Marco stammered, Sure, but... Click. Chase was already halfway to the garage. 20 minutes later, his Bentley skidded into the construction lot, dust clouds following behind. He ignored the workers, the hard hats, the startled security. Unit D, he barked. A young foreman pointed toward the skeleton of a concrete structure at the far end of the lot. Back there, sir. She's still inside. Chase walked quickly, then ran. He stepped into the unfinished room, dust hanging in the air, wires dangling from the beams. And there she was. Curled up in the corner, half asleep on a pile of foam boards, was the girl from yesterday. Same hoodie. Same jeans. Same brace. She stirred as his shadow fell over her. Her eyes opened slowly. Then widened. You, she whispered. Chase didn't move. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to trespass. I just needed somewhere quiet. I'll leave. Please don't call the police. He took a step forward. You disappeared yesterday. She blinked. You came back. I promised I would. She sat up, wincing slightly as she moved her bad leg. The skin around the brace looked raw and inflamed. He crouched beside her. What's your name? Lena, she said. Lena Brooks. I'm Chase, he replied. Chase Montgomery. She flinched. Wait, the Chase Montgomery? Like, the tech guy? He smiled faintly. Yeah. That's me. Her face fell. Then I really shouldn't be here. Lena, he said gently, you have nowhere else, right? She nodded, ashamed. Then come with me. She stared. What? You can stay at my house. In the guest wing. Just until you're better. No strings. No judgment. Lena looked like she'd just been told the moon was hers. You'd do that? I should have done it yesterday. Her hands shook. She wiped her face quickly, nodding. Okay. Chase stood and extended his hand. She took it. As they walked toward the car together, workers paused, watching their billionaire boss escort a crippled, dusty stranger like she was royalty. None of them understood. But Chase did. He hadn't just found a girl. He had found a reason. The Bentley purred up the long, winding driveway of Chase's hilltop estate, its tires crunching softly on white gravel. Lena sat quietly in the passenger seat, her eyes wide as she took in the size of the mansion, the white stone walls, the polished glass, the manicured hedges that looked too perfect to be real. This isn't a house, she murmured. It's a movie set. Chase glanced at her with a smile. You'll get used to it. She shifted uncomfortably, tugging at the fraying edge of her hoodie. I'm not sure I'm supposed to. He parked near the front, and a uniformed housekeeper opened the door with practiced grace. Chase stepped out first, then walked around and gently helped Lena out. Are they going to stare? She asked under her breath, already aware of the watchful eyes of the house staff through the windows. They work for me, Chase replied. If anyone stares, I'll fire them. Her eyes widened again. Please don't do that. He smiled. Then don't worry. You're my guest, Lena. That makes you royalty around here. The house was pristine, marble floors, vaulted ceilings, framed art worth more than most condos in the city. Chase led her down a wide hallway, past a glass-walled wine cellar, and finally to a spacious guest suite at the back of the house. The room looked like it belonged in a five-star resort, soft lighting, king-sized bed, a sitting area with books and candles, even a view of the hills outside. She didn't speak for several seconds. I've never been in a place with carpet this soft, she whispered, wiggling her toes on it. Chase stepped aside. This is your space now. Bathrooms through that door. Towels, soaps, everything's fresh. And there's a closet with some clothes. They may not fit perfectly, but they'll be more comfortable than what you've got. She turned to him, her voice trembling. Why are you doing this for me? He held her gaze. Because yesterday, I saw someone the world walked past, and I walked past too. And I've regretted it every minute since. Lena's lip quivered, but she bit it hard, refusing to cry. Instead, she said, "Thank you, Chase. I don't know what else to say." "You don't have to say anything," he replied. "Just rest. Heal. Eat. You deserve peace, Lena." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "One more thing." She looked up. "You're not charity. You're a guest. And this house will treat you like one." When he was gone, Lena sank onto the edge of the bed. Her fingers ran over the comforter like it was made of gold. For the first time in a long time, she felt human again. 2 mornings later, Lena stood barefoot in the gleaming kitchen, wrapped in a soft cotton robe that hung awkwardly over her thin frame. The sunlight poured through the large windows as she stirred oatmeal on the stove, humming softly. It had been years since she'd slept through the night without sirens, wind, or hunger waking her. Now, every corner of this house smelled like lavender and fresh bread. She didn't know how long she'd be here, but she wanted to earn her keep, even if it meant something as small as breakfast. A gentle voice behind her made her jump. "You don't need to cook, you know." She turned. Chase leaned against the doorframe, dressed down in a Henley shirt and sweats. He looked more like a yoga instructor than a billionaire CEO. Lena blushed. "I just thought, you let me stay here. Least I can do is make breakfast." He smiled and stepped closer. "You cook, too?" She nodded. "I used to, back when, well, before things got bad." "Looks like you never forgot how," he said, eyeing the cinnamon she was sprinkling in. "I hope not," she replied softly. "Cooking used to be the only time my mom and I were really okay. It was our peace." His eyes lingered on her, something stirring in him again, a feeling he hadn't let himself feel in years. Before either of them could speak again, the front door opened. The footsteps that followed were sharp, rhythmic, expensive. Chase turned just as a woman stepped into the kitchen, heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. She wore a fitted red dress, her platinum hair pinned into a perfect twist, and a designer bag hanging off one wrist like a threat. "Chase," she said coolly. "You haven't returned my calls." Lena froze. Chase's tone shifted immediately. "Riley, this isn't a good time." She flicked her eyes toward Lena and didn't bother hiding the distaste on her face. "I can see that." Lena stepped back instinctively, nearly knocking over the pot on the stove. "I didn't know you had help," Riley added, voice dripping with sarcasm. "She's not help," Chase said firmly. "She's a guest." Riley's eyes narrowed. "A guest who cooks barefoot in your kitchen? Dressed in one of your robes?" "Right." Lena spoke up, voice soft. "I'll go." "No," Chase cut in, looking at her gently. "You stay." Riley laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "Wow. I go away for a few weeks and you replace me with a street pet." Chase's voice dropped to steel. "Don't talk to her like that." Riley stepped closer. "You think I don't know what this is? It's your guilt project. You find a girl who looks broken, you play savior, and it makes you feel better about your sterile little world." Lena looked away, hurt blooming across her face. "I said enough," Chase growled. "She's going to use you," Riley snapped. "They always do. You let people like that in your house, they never leave." "She didn't ask to come here," he shot back. "I brought her. And I'll decide when she leaves." Riley turned on her heel. "Fine. Let her play housewife. Just don't come crying when you wake up with nothing." She stormed out without waiting for a reply, the front door slamming behind her. Silence returned. Lena gripped the edge of the counter, her breath shaky. "I'm sorry," she said again. "I didn't mean to cause." "You didn't," Chase said firmly. "She doesn't live here. She doesn't love me. She only loved what I could give her." Lena turned. "And what do you think I want from you?" He looked at her, his expression softening. "Nothing. That's why you're still here." Rain poured against the windows later that evening, soft and steady, like it knew the mansion needed quiet. Chase stood in his home office, pacing. His phone buzzed with messages from investors, board members, even his PR team, all trying to lock in next week's speaking engagement at Stanford. But his mind wasn't on tech forecasts or IPO buzz. It was on the girl down the hallway. Lena. The way she flinched when Riley insulted her. The way she tried to disappear even in kindness. She wasn't the kind of woman who belonged in billion-dollar boardrooms or gossip blogs. But she belonged in something far more rare, a man's real peace. He didn't know what to do with that feeling yet. But it was there. Down the hallway, Lena sat at the window in her guest suite, a blanket draped over her shoulders. Her fingers traced the raindrops on the glass, the soft hum of thunder comforting. She felt like a ghost wearing someone else's life. Everything still felt unreal. The room, the sheets, the silence, the kindness. But what unsettled her most was Chase. He was kind without being condescending. Protective without being possessive. And he looked at her like she mattered. That scared her. She couldn't remember the last time someone looked at her without pity or suspicion. A soft knock broke her thoughts. She turned. "Come in." Chase stepped in slowly, holding 2 mugs of hot chocolate. "No oatmeal this time," he said with a faint grin. "Thought you might need something sweet." Lena laughed softly and accepted the mug. "Thank you." Again. He pulled a chair beside her and sat, both of them facing the window. After a long silence, he spoke. "What happened to your leg?" She took a breath. "Car accident. 3 years ago. A drunk driver. I was walking home from my night shift at the diner. He ran the light." Chase's jaw tensed. "I'm sorry. My mom died that night," she added quietly. "She was coming to walk me home because I was tired. She didn't make it." His heart dropped. "Lena. I stopped walking after that. Not just physically. I mean, in life. I dropped out of school. Lost the apartment. Everything just crumbled." Chase sat in silence, letting the words land. "I got tired of trying," she said finally. "Tired of begging. I didn't want anyone's help anymore. I figured I'd just disappear." He looked at her gently. "But you didn't." She gave a small, broken laugh. "No. Because apparently, I asked the right stranger for money." He smiled. "I think maybe I was the one who got lucky." She glanced at him, surprised. Chase looked down at his mug. "All these years, I've built things. Companies, apps, cities on blueprints. But none of it has ever made me feel like this. You sit across from me and somehow I don't want to check my phone. That's new." Lena didn't speak. Her heart beat faster. "You don't owe me anything," he added. "But I just wanted you to know, you're not invisible anymore. Not here." She stared at him, lips trembling. "Why me?" she asked softly. "Because broken things don't stay broken forever," he replied. "Some of them just need someone to believe in them again." It was nearing midnight when Chase's phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a board member, or a friend, or even his father. It was Riley. The text read. "You'll regret this. I warned you. Let's see what the media does with your little rescue pet. Chase stared at the message, his jaw tightening. He tapped the lock button, refusing to engage. He knew what this was. Riley wasn't hurt, she was humiliated. And humiliation made people dangerous. Down the hallway, Lena lay curled beneath the comforter, but her mind refused to rest. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Riley's face again, that smirk, that tone. They never leave. She didn't want to be another burden, another project. She didn't want to be the reason someone like Chase Montgomery lost his peace. She sat up, slid her legs over the edge of the bed, and stared at the brace wrapped around her lower leg. The pain had dulled over the years, but the weight of the world hadn't. Morning came with thunder. By the time Chase walked into the dining room, the storm outside had turned aggressive, wind thrashing against the windows, trees shaking violently. He called out, "Lena." No answer. He walked toward her suite, empty. The bed was made. The room was cold. On the dresser, a note. Chase. Thank you. For everything. But I can't stay. I'm not your responsibility. Please don't come looking for me. Lena. His throat tightened. The air rushed out of his lungs. No. He burst out of the house without an umbrella, rain soaking him in seconds. He jumped into the Bentley, his heart pounding harder than the rain on the windshield. Downtown LA was a mess, streets flooding, traffic lights flickering, pedestrians running for cover. He drove like a man possessed, checking every corner near the Whole Foods where he'd first met her. Then the alleys. Then the benches behind the shopping center. Nothing. Then he saw it. A limp figure slouched beneath the awning of a closed hardware store. The hoodie. The brace. He pulled over, ran across the street. Lena, he shouted. She didn't turn at first. Lena, please. Don't do this. She looked up, drenched, her eyes red. I told you not to come. You really think I wouldn't? She shook her head, ashamed. I didn't want you to feel like you had to take care of me. I'm not your project, Chase. You're not, he said. You're not a project. You're not a burden. You're someone I. He stopped himself, breathing hard. She stared at him, silent. I don't care what anyone thinks, he said finally. Not Riley, not my shareholders, not the tabloids. I care that you're safe. That you're warm. That you know you matter. Her lips quivered. You don't even know everything about me. I don't have to. I know who you are now. Tears blended with rain. Her voice cracked. But I'm not whole. You don't have to be, he said, stepping closer. You just have to stop running. Because I'm not going anywhere. He held out his hand again, like he had the day they met. This time, she didn't hesitate. She took it. And in the middle of a storm that soaked the world in chaos, he pulled her into his arms. And neither of them let go. The storm had passed by morning. Warm light bathed the dining room of Chase's mansion as Lena sat across from him, freshly showered, dressed in a soft peach blouse and gray lounge pants he had asked the housekeeper to find. Her hair, now clean and coiled in gentle waves, framed a face that looked different. Peace had changed her. Even if only a little. They ate quietly, French toast, eggs, and slices of avocado that Lena insisted on cutting herself. Chase watched her, not with pity, but with quiet admiration. You're staring, she said, cheeks warming. I know, he replied. She smiled. He set down his fork. I have something I want to ask you. Her smile faded a little. Is it about Riley? No, he said firmly. That's over. Completely. I blocked her. Told my legal team to prepare a cease and desist. She won't harass you again. Lena hesitated. What if she goes to the press? Let her, Chase said. I'll tell the truth. That I helped someone who needed it. That I didn't fall for a model or an heiress, but a woman with grit and a voice that made me want to stop pretending. Lena looked down, overwhelmed. He leaned forward. But that's not what I wanted to ask. She looked up. I want to help you go back to school. Her mouth parted. What? You told me you wanted to finish. Mass communication, right? You said it once while you were stirring oatmeal. Yes, she whispered. But I already spoke to someone at Pacific College. It's close, reputable, and has a solid media program. I can handle everything, tuition, books, your commute. Lena blinked. But I didn't ask for that. You didn't have to, Chase said. This isn't a handout. It's an investment, in a voice the world needs to hear. Lena's hands trembled. You don't even know if I'll succeed. I think you will. What if I disappoint you, she whispered. He smiled gently. Then I'll remind you that falling is part of becoming. You don't owe me success. You owe it to yourself. She stared at him, emotion rising. Then quietly, she asked, can I think about it? Of course. A pause. But Lena, he added, don't say no because you think you're unworthy. That's Riley's voice, not yours. And her voice doesn't live here anymore. That night, as Lena lay in bed, the offer played in her head over and over. School. A second chance. Not because she begged. But because someone saw her potential, not her poverty. She whispered to the ceiling, Mom. If you're watching. I think you'd tell me to say yes. 2 weeks later, Lena stood at the entrance of Pacific College's admissions building, her fingers gripping a slim folder that held her fresh enrollment papers. Her hair was tied neatly in a bun, and she wore a navy cardigan over light denim, modest, clean, and hers. She still couldn't believe it. She was back. Back on a campus. Back in a world she thought had permanently shut its gates on her. Chase had insisted on waiting in the car, letting her walk in alone. This moment should be yours, he said. And now, as she stepped back outside, holding her acceptance letter, he was leaning against the Bentley, sunglasses on, arms folded, looking like someone out of a GQ cover. You did it, he said with a proud smile. I did it, she echoed, stunned. They accepted me on the spot. He nodded. Told you. I start next Monday, she whispered. Full schedule. Real professors. Real classmates. I'll need textbooks and... I already ordered them, Chase interrupted, handing her a small black folder. Inside were digital access codes, bookstore credits, and a modest monthly stipend, enough to cover transportation and daily needs. Lena stared at it, then back at him. Chase. I'm just clearing the path, he said. The walking part is still up to you. She hugged the folder to her chest, her eyes shimmering. I don't know how to repay you. He stepped closer. You don't owe me anything. Except one thing. She tilted her head. What's that? Finish what you started, he said softly. Tell your story. Use that fire inside you. Show the world what strength actually looks like. Lena felt something shift in her chest, like a door she'd kept locked was starting to creak open. You really think my story matters? I think it's more important than mine, Chase replied. Mine has money. Yours has meaning. Later that evening, they sat on the rooftop terrace of Chase's mansion, watching the Los Angeles skyline flicker under the early dusk. Lena sipped sparkling water. Chase poured wine for himself but hardly touched it. You know, she said suddenly, there's a part of me that still thinks all of this could vanish tomorrow. Like I'll wake up on a sidewalk again. He turned to her. It won't. You're not going back. She stared at the horizon. What if I fall again? Then I'll be right here, he said. Waiting. Lifting. She turned slowly, meeting his gaze. For a moment, everything stilled. The breeze. The traffic hum. The city below. Just two people above the noise. Then, softly, she asked, "Why are you so patient with me?" He hesitated. Then smiled. "Because every time you speak, I feel like I'm hearing the truth. And that's rare in my world." 4 months later. Lena sat across from the editor of LA Daily Focus, a mid-tier but growing online magazine with real exposure, and more importantly, a paid internship opening. Her fingers gripped a small notepad. Her leg brace was hidden beneath dark jeans, and she wore a white blouse that Chase had picked out, insisting it looked professional but fearless. The editor, a tough-looking woman in her 40s named Marcy Green, skimmed Lena's portfolio, flipping through a few printed writing samples and scribbled interview notes from campus assignments. "You've got a voice," Marcy muttered. Lena swallowed. "Thank you, ma'am." "I said a voice," Marcy repeated. "Didn't say it's polished yet. But it's raw. Honest. Feels like you've lived through some storms." Lena nodded once. "I have." Marcy looked at her over the rim of her glasses. "There's something here, Miss Brooks. What made you apply for this?" Lena took a slow breath, remembering the night under the hardware store awning, the morning she almost disappeared again, and the man who brought her back. "Because I've been quiet for too long," she said. "Because I think stories can save lives, maybe not all of them, but enough to matter. And I want to be part of telling them." Marcy leaned back, watching her for a moment. Then she smiled. "You're hired." That night, Chase was already waiting at their usual spot on the rooftop balcony, 2 glasses of sparkling cider on the side table. He stood as she walked up, his expression already guessing the answer from her smile. "I got it," she said. He grinned. "Of course you did. I start Monday. Real deadlines. Real articles. Marcy's tough. I like her." He raised his glass. "To Monday, then." They toasted. Then Chase reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a slim red envelope. "One more thing." "What's this?" she asked, opening it carefully. Inside was a first-edition print of her favorite book, one she mentioned once in passing, Letters to a Young Journalist by Samuel Givens. Her breath caught. "How did you even find this?" He shrugged. "I know a guy." Her eyes watered. He stepped closer. "Lena. I know what you said months ago. That you weren't ready for love. That you needed to find yourself first." She looked at him, lips trembling. "But I need to say this out loud once, even if it changes nothing." "Okay," she whispered. "I love you." She inhaled, frozen. He continued, "Steady now. Not because you're a survivor. Not because you overcame. Not because I brought you home. But because every day since I met you, I've seen who I could become beside someone real." Lena didn't speak at first. Then she set the envelope on the table, stepped forward, and wrapped her arms around his waist. "I never stopped loving you," she whispered. "I just didn't know if I deserved it." He held her tight, pressing his forehead gently to hers. "You always did," he said. 1 year later. The auditorium at Pacific College was packed. Parents. Professors. Students. Friends. Cameras flashed. Names were called. Valedictorian, Class of Communications. Lena Grace Brooks. Applause thundered through the hall. Chase stood in the back, pride radiating from him like a second skin. He didn't wave. Didn't record. He just watched. Watched her climb the steps in a soft emerald green gown, a golden sash trailing behind. Her steps were slow but strong, the leg brace still there, a part of her, no longer hidden. Lena took the podium, eyes scanning the room. Her voice rang clear. A year ago, I was living in shadows. I had no home, no degree, and I thought my story was over. But someone believed in me before I did. He didn't try to fix me. He gave me space to grow. And that's what I want to leave with all of you today. She paused. Don't wait until you're perfect to speak. Don't wait until the pain is gone to tell your story. Your voice, even broken, might be the bridge someone else needs to cross their storm. The crowd rose to their feet. Chase didn't clap. He just stood there with his hand over his mouth, tears stinging his eyes. That evening, Lena opened the door of their new townhouse, smaller than Chase's old mansion, but filled with warmth. Paintings on the wall. Books on the shelves. A framed photo of their first breakfast, cinnamon oatmeal and sunlight. Chase entered behind her, carrying Thai takeout. You, she said, laughing, still think pad Thai is romantic. He set the bag down. You're the romantic. I'm the fool who fell for a girl eating cereal barefoot in his kitchen. She grinned. That was oatmeal. He leaned in, wrapping his arms around her waist. You ready? For what? He stepped back and pointed. Near the fireplace was a soft leather box. She opened it. Inside was a key, and a certificate. Zara Media Group. Registered, licensed, founded by Lena Brooks. She gasped. Wait, what? You said you wanted to tell stories that mattered, Chase said. Now you can. Your company. Your newsroom. I put in the investment. You own the dream. Lena blinked, tears falling. Chase looked at her. I married a force. She smiled through the tears. You married a beggar. He touched her cheek. No. I married a woman who taught me what real love is. No filters. No heels. No pride. Just truth. She leaned her forehead to his. And I married a man who taught me I was worth saving. Even when I didn't believe it. They kissed, soft and full of gratitude. Outside, the city lights flickered on. And inside, two people who never planned to fall in love, not like this, not from opposite ends of the world, sat on their sofa, eating noodles, barefoot, with music playing low. No cameras. No noise. Just love. The real kind. Dear viewers, what lesson did you take away from this powerful story? Was it about kindness? The strength to rise again? Or the courage to love someone with nothing, and give them everything? Let us know in the comments, we read every one. If this story touched your heart, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs hope today. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss a single story that could change your life. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay kind. Stay strong. And never underestimate the power of second chances.